I build worlds for a living, but I don't do it alone.
I'm Jeanne, the first reader and the partner who keeps the real world running.
I'm J.E. Sutton Jr. This is The Co-Authored Life.
A look at the stories we share and the life we're building together. Welcome.
All right.
So,
It's our second episode already.
I know, crazy, right?
Yep.
So let's just get the elephant out of the room. My chin, as you can see, has a little bit of a boo-boo on it. I had basal cell carcinoma and they scooped it out last Monday. So I'm healing well and all is good. This is what life is. So today we're going to talk about a few things. First, about my role, because I love talking about me now. And then our favorite team, and then kind of like the normal couple thing, but we'll get to that later.
So, with that in mind, last week it was a lot of you interviewing me. So this week we're going to turn the tables just a little bit. And I'm going to ask you a few questions about your part in this process. The first thing I want to do, though, is I want you to tell our listeners and our viewers how you first found out about my writing a novel and what you thought about it and how that sort of evolved in your head.
I think we were getting ready for work, and you had been in the office, and I was piddling around, and you came in, and you're like, "So, I've been working on something." I'm like, "Oh, okay, whatever, this is normal." And I wrote a book. I'm like, "What? You wrote a book?" "Well, it's a short story." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that is so cool." So I do remember that we were getting ready and you're like kind of hesitant, and then you finally let me read it and I was like blown away at how good it was.
That was important. I don't know that you know that how important it was, because your reaction, you were the first person ever outside of myself to look at it, and your reaction was very important. Not that I expected you to be super critical or mean about it, but we have a pretty honest relationship, and
Pretty much.
you, while you're not going to intentionally hurt me, you wouldn't be able to help saying if you thought it needed work or if you thought it wasn't as good as it needed to be. You would have had some constructive criticism. But the fact that your first reaction was to be very proud and to be very supportive and to be excited about it sort of fueled me. Yeah, super proud. Sort of fueled me to continue to do my work on it. So let's talk a little bit about, we didn't really do our process that we've evolved to now. We didn't really do that for the Digital Witness, which is the short story we're talking about. But for the first novel, the Failsafe Program, we did. And although we refined it over time, talk a little bit about how you approach the process and the part you have in the books.
Okay, so like you said, the Digital Witness was like was it the first 3 chapters of the book?
It's basically the first 3 chapters, though I think in the final revision there's an additional chapter that wasn't in that, but it's essentially the first 3. It goes from the first encounter that Alan has with Layla to sort of their discovery of her origins.
Right. So at that time, and I don't do it this way anymore, but at that time, you would write a chapter and I would start the book from the beginning and read all the way up to the end of that chapter. And then, highlighting it in my iPad and red circles and question marks and stuff like that. And then we would sit down and we would discuss things. I don't do it that way anymore. I don't read from beginning to where you have written to. I think that worked for that book, but because you have so many things going on now, that isn't a process that I can keep up with.
Okay. So just so everybody knows, I have written the first 2 drafts of the follow-up novel to the Failsafe Program, which we will not announce the title or anything of it in this podcast, but a future one we will be. So for that novel, we've sort of adapted a new process, and talk a little bit about how that process works.
So with that one, as a chapter came out, you would say, "Hey, I've uploaded the new chapter to our shared space," and I would download it and read it and put my notes in. And sometimes, though, that's hard because I would be thinking about either the failsafe program or the current book I'm reading, and it would get all jumbled. So I would have to like search back for things and stuff like that, but that's okay. And then I would come home and, after dinner, I'd say, "Hey, do you want to do some editing?" And it was usually yes. And so we would sit down and I would pull up my iPad, but now Kindle, and scroll through it and go, "Hey, you have a period comma here." Oh, huh, okay. So that's how we do it. And then after we go through that process of the first draft, you go back again and you read it and do some fixing and then send it up to our shared space. And I read from beginning to the end of the new book. And then we'll sit down and go through my notes, all of my notes. And then, like we did with the last book, we do a read aloud. At night, we cozy up on the couch, and Jerry's got his laptop, and I read the book aloud. And sometimes that's when we find some of the, wait, that doesn't work at all. Or, whoa, what voice is that? That kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's the process. We don't know if it's right, but it works for us.
Well, in talking to a number of authors, especially independent authors online, I can tell you there is no one process. Everybody has a little bit different. Some people have. So what I do like that we have that a lot of people don't is we have an internal feedback process that we go through together before anybody else ever takes a look at the book. And most authors that I've talked to don't. Many of them don't share their work with their significant other or their family members. And I don't want to judge anybody for that, but I can't imagine doing it any other way.
No, I can't either.
This is the co-authored life for a reason more than just books. It's always been a partnership, a together thing. And so the only person I could think of to tell about the book when I first wrote that short story was you. And I wasn't comfortable when I was writing it, but as soon as I was comfortable sharing it with anybody, you were going to be the first person that I shared it with. So I can't imagine doing that any other way. So that process works for us. Does it work for other people? I don't know. It probably does for some others, depending on their relationship. But so far, it's worked fairly well. And I think even after going, in fact, I just went back to the Failsafe program to do a polish on it in preparation for re-releasing it in April. When we release the second book, we're going to do a little polish and release on the first book, which isn't uncommon. And I'm not changing anything material, but I'm cleaning up any sort of mistakes that I find along the way, mostly punctuation.
Maybe that both of us missed.
The
four
first
times going through the book.
Right, using the wrong verb tense and things like that. Things that happen, and it happened, frankly, in professionally edited books with huge staffs to work on them. But in going back through it, I was surprised at how well it still hung together. And I think it really talks about our process. I didn't change a lot. There are things that I would write differently now if I were writing it. In fact, I think the second book is far more polished writing than the first book. But I think it's a journey, and the process that we have works, and it works for us. And I think that's what's important. The read along is very important, I think, because frequently when we're reading along and you say something out loud, even though you've read it several times, I've read it probably 3 or 4 times at least by then, you saying it out loud can trigger in my head to say, no, it doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound natural. Right. Doesn't sound like that's the way you would talk or that's the way you would describe that. So let's reword that. And sometimes it highlights that we don't know that yet. I've forgotten to establish that fact. And so I need to go back and do that. So it's a very important process. Anybody who's not doing a read aloud probably is missing out on some of that. I assume that some editors have a similar process. I don't know how they do it. I've never had a professional,
We need
commercially
more
professional
author
editor.
friends
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
and
But
editor friends and whatever.
so that's the process for writing the book. Let's talk about after the book is written. Let's talk about release and after that. What is your role in that?
Um, well, I tend to be really controlling about the artwork that comes out. Um, I don't know if it's, I don't mean to be, but so I did do the cover art for the Failsafe program and working on cover art for the new books, but a
Mhm.
lot of the social media we both do. So that's really, it's a lot of work to market a book.
Yeah, that,
Uh,
that's the number one thing I don't think authors realize when they're writing a book. I certainly didn't. And everything I read, it seems to indicate that most authors don't know that that's how and especially in independent publishing, no one else is spending any time or money promoting your book, getting your book out there. That's something that you have to do, or you have to rely on others in your circle to do. And
right,
so, while you're right, we both do social media. Um, you have been really the driving force behind a lot of the social media, coming up with creative ideas, coming up with videos and images, and really just sort of it's the creative side of the social media that's really probably the most difficult, because generating assets and finding the right hook and the right text to put in is what is really the hardest part. And then publishing it, there are tools for that. And
right,
as we use a product called Buffer, there are dozens of other products, but
right,
that you can queue things up. But it's getting that idea and then expanding on it, and really sort of doing testing. What works, what gets the most attention, what doesn't get attention, and then using those elements that are getting attention and learning as you go. Everything that we do, we learn, oh, that worked, or well, that really didn't work, or
right.
we thought that was really exciting but nobody else seemed to really care about it. So
Yeah, and just so our listeners, watchers know, we use AI. We use AI a lot. We love technology. We're going to use the tools, but it doesn't mean that AI is doing all the work. We still have to come up with the concepts to put into the prompt to make the AI do what we want it to do. So I think I've become kind of a little bit of a, I don't know what the word is for a newbie who's very successful. I don't know, savant. No, um, user of AI technology to get the images I need for our social media. So, I mean, pretty much the Screaming Goat Coffee Instagram is pretty much all me. I love working on that site. Screaming Goat Coffee and the Holiday Hustle is by far the funnest writing that you put out, as far as not, I don't know, it's light. So it was a quick read. It's fun holiday stuff. It's, I don't want to say it's a throwaway read because it's not a throwaway read, but you can
but
read it in a day or two.
yeah, I mean, they call it a palate cleanser, which sometimes can be seen as a pejorative, but it's really not. It just means that in reading, usually in reading a novel or a collection of short stories or poetry or whatever you're reading, nonfiction, that requires a significant uh, time investment by the reader, right? An average novel is at least 4 to 8 hours of reading. That's a
Right.
lot, especially when the average human doesn't read more than a half hour at a time in
Right.
general. So that means you're going to spend days reading this. And sometimes if you get busy and your life intrudes, it can be weeks. So having something that you can pick up, read in an afternoon or read over a couple of days, it doesn't really take a lot of investment in your time. And I think that's very important. I
Right.
think that's the short story format is perfect for that. And I really like doing that. I'm certainly want to do more of the short stories. I have an
Well,
idea I don't want
and
to
you,
announce today, but I do have another idea for a short
yeah.
story in the at
Well,
the
but you already have your other little short story on your Substack, which is super cute
flight risk.
too. Yeah, the flight risk. And so, I mean, and I think that part of your brain fascinates me because you have like this deep, intense Alan and Layla thing going on. And then you have these antics that come up. And it's just kind of a nice little, I mean, I guess that's how everybody's brain is. We're multidimensional. So yeah, I
Yeah,
love that.
that's a good analysis. The flight risk, while taking place in the same universe with the same characters as the failsafe program, is definitely a different tone. It's a lighter tone. It's a more whimsical tone. It's it it while it highlights the relationships between Alan, Stacy, and Layla, which is a key part of the books. It also does so in a more lighthearted way, which you can do in a short story.
Right.
In a full length novel, those pieces are there. That humor and that lightheartedness is there, but it's buried in with the drama and the suspense and the tension that you're building for the story. So it's not as relaxed a read when you're reading it all in one place. But when you pull out some of those sequences and you do a story like Flight Risk, you're able to uh, make it light, make it relevant, and make it interesting and part of the character development for the characters, but not as heavy and as time investment wise as as time um, big of a time sink as reading a full novel is. That's another story, by the way, that I think you had a huge part in getting right, because I think that you pitched the idea or one of the ideas, one of the key elements in the story, and it's based on a little bit of wordplay. And because I don't think that I came up with the plot line until we had talked about the story.
Right. Right. We were laughing the other night because if our life was truly videoed all the time and then cut into pieces, I think we would have people in stitches all the time. We're not necessarily funny right now, but on a regular basis, we're pretty darn funny, or we think we are, which I guess is the
No,
most important part.
yeah, so yeah, it's always a little. It's usually wordplay. It's really intentionally or unintentionally misunderstanding a sentence or a phrase and
Yeah.
running with it. Um, that's usually how it goes. Which is exactly, I think, how the main plot for the flight risk came about, was playing on the two words that sound very similar or might sound very similar in a context in a phone context of
Go
a phone
read it.
conversation. Yeah,
Go
read it
to,
on Substack.
yes,
We'll put the link to Substack on
in the comments.
in the
Yeah.
comments this week. Yep.
All right. I'm going to switch gears here because we're talking about funny. And what wasn't funny was the way the Jacksonville Jaguars season ended.
No, it wasn't. It was, though, a very fantastic season overall.
It was overall, I guess, not even not funny. It was heartbreaking. It was a heartbreaking season because, every year we're like, this is going to be it. This is going to be our year. We're excited when they got Travis Hunter. We were excited when we went to the um, practices at the
Training
Miller
camp.
Electric
Yep.
Center. And,
Yep.
we're seeing what's going on and we're like, whoa, they're playing in both ways. That's really cool. Hey, look, uh, Lawrence's passes are like spot on. We're
Yeah.
excited. The first part of the season, we're like, okay, maybe it's
It's
going
a
to be a
little raw,
rebuilding
a little
year.
rough. Yeah.
Yeah, another rebuilding year. Okay. That's all right. We have a new coach. We have a new. Uh,
Right.
is Gladstone a GM or is he the president?
He's the general manager, James
Okay.
Gladstone. Yep.
And they brought in Tony Baselli as a.
He's the executive. He's an executive. I don't know whether he's VP. I think he's an executive vice president for football.
Who cares? It's Tony Baselli.
It is Tony Baselli.
He's an icon here in Jacksonville. He was the very first drafted for the Jacksonville Jaguars back in 1994 was the draft.
90, it would have been 94, 95, yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Oh, so it's just building on what you just said. So we started the season. The first few games, the first couple of games were good. They started out winning their first game, but even when winning the first few games, and I think at one point they were 4-2 or 4-3. They ended up at a few games later at 5-4. And what we were seeing is a team that had a lot of promise, a lot of good players, but they had some fundamental mistakes. They were committing a lot of penalties. They were making mistakes, throwing interceptions.
They couldn't tackle.
Couldn't tackle. They were the number 2 team this year in the NFL in dropped passes by receivers. Incredible stat. Number 2 behind only Denver this year. And so we started to see, this is a team that's good, and if they got it all together, they'd be really scary, right? They'd be really, really, really good. And so about somewhere around mid-season, a couple of things happened. First, Travis Hunter got hurt, and we all thought,
after an excellent game on his part, not for the team, but on his part in London.
Right.
Yeah, that's when he
went to
really
London,
started
lost
to
to
shine.
the Rams. Right, lost to the Rams, but Travis Hunter finally had that breakout game, right? Had his first touchdown pass, had excellent plays on defense, had excellent offensive plays, looked really, really good. And then, of course, a week later in practice, he injured his knee and he's out for the season. So there was that sort of, here we go again. They're
right.
It's really just going to be a wasted season. But they put it together. In the latter half of the season, went 8 straight wins. And really sort of roared into the postseason and showed exactly how much talent they had. I know that I expected them to go farther in the playoffs. I mean, they came up against a really good Bills team. And even with that, they were really close. 1 or 2 additional plays, they could have won that game. But a 13-3 season is really good considering they came off 13-4, came off a 4-13 season the year before, and with mostly the same players. I mean, with relatively few changes, except one I'm going to talk about in just a minute. With relatively few changes, it's the same team that went 4-13 the year before. The real difference is the coaching, the offensive scheming, the defensive,
and the mindset.
And the mindset, right? The mindset. So the one key difference in players is that James Gladstone pulled off a tremendous midseason trade to get a great
Myers.
receiver who changed their season.
Yeah, really did.
Jacoby Myers, he's an excellent receiver. He catches the ball when it's thrown to him. He has just a great work ethic, according to everybody who talks about him. And he sort of changed the way the receivers were operating. The drops went down. They started making bigger plays. I think as a consequence, Trevor Lawrence's confidence went up. He started being more relaxed and just taking the chances, just putting the ball where it needed to be. And as he said, as
trusting that Myers was going to be there, that Brian Thomas Jr. was going to be there, although a few drops.
Yeah, still a few drops. But then Parker Washington came on later in the year and was really, really effective. But
he's exciting.
But the point is, Liam, he is exciting. Liam Cohen had said that he wanted to get Trevor Lawrence to trust what he was seeing and just make the decision and go and do it instead of second guessing himself and sort of checking down when he didn't need to or trying to force things into windows that he couldn't hit. He wanted him to trust what was there and then go with that and not think too much about it. And that's what he did the latter half of the season.
Was it on the hunt that we saw Trevor Lawrence talking about the little changes that changed his whole? Was it on the hunt?
Yeah, it was either that or an interview that he did, but I think it might have been the hunt. But it was talked about how they changed which foot that he uh,
Stepped off on.
yeah, and talked about how his internal clock and how he approached it, his delivery. I think those things are really important mechanically wise. But I think the real change was really his attitude and his confidence that he got going toward the end of the season. Now, there's still some things to fix there, primarily on defense, which had a really, really good year, but in some key moments could have played just a little bit better, including that game against Buffalo, where they just needed a stop or two and they just really couldn't get it. Now, not to judge them too harshly because most teams can't stop Buffalo, but
Right. Not everybody makes it to the playoffs.
right. So, but so there's a few pieces I think that it would probably help, especially on defense, um, going forward. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do next year, how they approach the draft in their second year in free agency. So you talked about earlier. You talked about it's another lost season, and we were talking about just this morning because I read a stat a few days ago, and so I looked it up this morning, and so the Jaguars have been in the league since their inaugural year, since they were an expansion team in 1995. In the first 5 years, they had 4 winning seasons, including 2 AFC championship games that they went to.
Right.
That was 1999 was the last year of that. Sorry, 94 to 99, 95 to 94 to 99. They had 4 winning seasons. From 2000 to 2020, they had 4 winning seasons. That's 4 in 20 years.
Right.
Not 10 years, essentially, right? No, 20 years. That's 4 winning seasons in the next 20 years, right? From 2020 to 2026, they've had 3 winning seasons now, including 2 playoff appearances. So I think the arrow was pointed up. We got spoiled early on by how good they were as an expansion team. And then after that era, they were really, really, really bad for a really long time. And now they seem to have the promise of looking really, really good. And I think with Cohen in charge in the coaching and with Gladstone and Tony Baselli in the front office, I think they have a team now that can actually do the things they need to do and focus on the things they need to do to make them a really, really good team. And that's really, really exciting to me.
Yeah.
As the Jaguars are my team. My father and I growing up, my father and I loved football. We watched every Sunday. We watched the Dolphins play. We went to every exhibition game they ever put in Jacksonville. We were there the night that the Jaguars were awarded the team. We went down to the stadium and put deposits down on season tickets, and I've had season tickets ever since that night. That was our team. We were there. We felt like we contributed to the building of that team, getting that team here. So there's really no choice but for me to be a Jaguar fan. It is my team. So it's really a big part of the sort of the psyche of the city. When they're doing well, the city feels really, really good. And when they're not, the city doesn't feel as well. So looking forward to the seasons to come. Of course, they have the big stadium renovation going on over the next couple of years. Looking
Right.
forward to the stadium of the future. That's going to be exciting. The stadium of the future is, by the way, in the Failsafe program and other books in the series. If you pay attention, it's sort of mentioned in an
It
offhand
is?
way. It is.
Oh, wow. Totally missed that. So yeah, you were there from the get-go.
Mhm.
I'm a band girl, so my relationship with football was get off the field, it's time to march. Anyway, um, before I moved down here, the only national football game I saw was the Lions, and it was during the negotiations. So it was a scab team.
Right.
But we were marching. Central Michigan University's marching band went down and marched for the halftime. And so, of course, we got to go to the game. So then we meet online and things happen. And I decide to move down here. And the first weekend that I moved down here to be with you is the inaugural game, September
Yep.
8th, 1995. I think that's the date.
I think that's about right. Yep.
And from that point on, it was Jaguars all
Right.
the way. I mean,
And
I am not the football fan that Jerry is, but that's okay. I've asked some really stupid questions about football, and that's okay. Because that's what co-authoring is about.
yeah.
Learning and appreciating what the other person enjoys.
Yeah, but I mean, you say that you're not the football fan that I am, but it's not as if I'm the teacher in that situation. I mean, you understand
No,
football. You had been to football games. You understood it. Maybe you didn't think about all the all the terminology and all that stuff. And frankly, that's a little bit of
I don't know. Like, I don't know all the
wonkiness.
positions. I don't know what a nickel dime package are. Those were other things that I was familiar with that, you know,
No, that's a different
college
terminology.
life. Hello.
That's a different. I didn't go. I didn't go to a 4-year college, so I didn't have that sort of experience. But
Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, I don't know that aspect of the football, but I'm slowly, I can now spot an offside. I can now see um uh a hold, what to
right,
look for.
right. Now you now know that you can tell. Usually, not always, not 100%, but you can usually tell which side of the ball the penalty is on based on where the flag is. Right. If it's in the backfield, it's usually a holding call or some other procedural call in the offense. If it's on the other side of the ball, it's probably a penalty on the defense. There are exceptions, but
Yeah.
generally that's how it is.
Honestly, I just want the penalty to favor the team I want. So that's what's important to me. Throw the flag, make sure that my team
Right.
gets the yardage or whatever they need.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty much how my love of the Jacksonville Jaguars began, was for
Right.
my love for Jerry. So that's
Right.
been fun. We have moved all over that stadium,
Yes.
from
Started in the upper
nosebleeds
deck.
down to the main bowl to
Yep.
the club section. We're really excited about the new stadium. We're really hoping we can stay where we are or close to it, because our seats are pretty nice.
Yes, right on the 50-yard line and right
Yes,
at the top of the section so that we don't have to walk downstairs. It's
right.
really good.
Aisle,
Aisles right on
which
the
is kind of
aisle
a pain because,
with people going in and out.
yeah, just
I
sit
don't know
down
why
and
people
watch the
can't just watch
game.
a football game. Yeah,
Right. Get your drink and sit and watch the game.
sit and watch the game. Yeah.
What the heck?
The people leave like 4 or 5 times a quarter. It's like, what are
I
you
know.
doing?
The playoff game was probably the worst I had seen
It's
it.
brutal. Well, and we had people in front of us standing up, so we had to stand up part of the time too. That's
Yeah,
fine during the exciting games, but at the really bad point was when they were standing at halftime, and it's like, come on,
I
there's a
know.
band on the field, and you're standing up doing nothing. There's nothing
They
to
were
stand. Sit down.
pissing me off. I think I tweeted something. No, I didn't tweet anybody. I messaged my former other band friend, like, hello.
Right. They're blocking the band.
Yeah. And all she said, what a douche canoe. Exactly. Move it. So now we just have to wait for, well, we're enjoying the playoffs right now.
Yep.
We've seen some crazy games. There is some football left that we're
Yep.
going to
3 more
enjoy. And
games.
yep. And then, of
Well, yeah,
course,
3 more games, and whatever the Pro Bowl is these years. It's certainly not a football game, but it can be interesting to watch at times. But they don't really play a game.
they don't do the Pro Bowl anymore. I thought they just did that flag football competition
Yeah.
stuff.
No, it's called the Pro Football Game. It's called the Pro Football Games, the Pro Bowl Games. And so they do competitions, and then they do a flag football game.
Yeah,
So I mean, the problem was that nobody wanted to play in that game because they didn't want to get hurt, and I understood that. And who wants to end their season getting hurt and then have to rehab their entire off season and maybe
right.
impacting their future season? So I get it. It's way too
I really
physical a game.
I really think that this new thing is fun. It's probably more fun for the players because they build that camaraderie between the NFL and the
Yeah,
AF no the NF
NFC and the AFC.
that.
Yeah,
So they build this camaraderie and become a team competing on these little silly
right.
games that they have, and I think that's
And
probably more fun than
and I,
going out and being gladiators on the football field.
Well, and what was happening is the defense wasn't. They weren't really playing a real football game anyway because nobody wanted to hit anybody. Nobody wanted to really get hurt, and nobody wanted to put themselves in danger. And I get that.
Right.
So doing it as a flag football game allows for more competition. There is an exhibition of skills. There is play going on, and um, it also allows the NFL to highlight their flag football sort of initiative, which can draw people of all different sizes,
Right.
types, genders, whatever, into the sport of football, which is really, really good for the NFL. So it's really good. I
Yeah,
said whatever they call it, but I think it is better now than it was. But
didn't the Jaguar flag football team just win the championship? I believe they did.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so.
So that's exciting for the communities.
Yep.
That flag
Yep.
football and
Yep.
that the NFL is sponsoring that, and yay sports.
All right. I think it's time that we transition to our next segment. Go Jaguars! So we'll continue to talk about that in future episodes, especially around things like the draft and free agency and things like that. But what's our next topic?
I don't know, but what's for dinner?
Well, funny you should ask. So, as we talked about last week, and as anybody who's followed our social media or read the books knows, that food is a big part of who we are in our life together. So, I figured today in this episode we would talk a little bit about a recipe and the process. So, just last night, we cooked one of my favorite dishes, recently favorite dishes. Just discovered it as an accident, actually.
Right.
Um, it we
Due
had
to a grocery store mess up.
right. Yeah, the grocery store stopped carrying the brand of kibasas that we like. We love these kibasa, original kibasas, pork sausages. They're really, really great, and they were full sausages, and we would cook them, and we either have them in bread as sandwiches or hot dog like things, or we would eat them just with a knife and fork along with
Yeah,
a side.
I think you made sausage and peppers one time with it too. You
Yeah,
cut it up
we
and
did
stuff.
sausage and peppers with them one time before.
But
But anyway, they stopped carrying them.
right.
They carry a bunch of other flavors, like roasted
Jalapeno
garlic and
cheddar and
jalapeno, but we didn't really want any of
garlic
that. So
rosemary sausage.
yeah,
No. Give me a
yeah,
Polish kielbasa, please.
yeah. So we discovered a different brand at the store, but they were cut up instead of being full sausages. So I said, well, I really need to find a way to cook these
Right.
in a dish that would be very good. So I looked around. I looked at a couple of different recipes, and I settled upon a recipe which I don't follow exactly, but in general,
We never do.
follow it.
We try.
Generally, I followed it, and basically, it's the kielbasa sausages. They're smoked. They're pecan smoked kielbasa sausages, and then you
Any
add
sausage will do.
yeah, and then you add we add a green pepper and an onion, like just a yellow onion, just a medium sized onion, and usually some garlic,
Always
and
garlic.
and get that nice and get the kielbasa brown, get the onions and the peppers sort of softened, and the garlic all fragrant. And then you want to mix in your about a cup of jasmine rice, and you get that all mixed in and all sort of toasted. And then you add uh, petite tomatoes, um, cut up tomatoes.
Because I like them petite.
Yeah, petite doesn't really matter,
I was
but
buying like
petite
the regular
because Jeannie likes
canned
the petite
tomato diced, but
tomatoes. But just cut up tomatoes, get that mixed in there, and then you fill it in with a liquid. We usually use a vegetable or a chicken stock, whatever we have on hand. You could probably use water or something else, but I like a little bit of the flavor, and it reduces the amount of sodium that we have to put in addition to put in. Get that about 2.5 cups, a little bit more. I usually put about 2.25 cups, and then I usually see how it goes, and toward the end of it, I'll add a little bit more just so it doesn't get too dry and start to stick. So you get all that going, get the liquid in there, bring it to a boil, reduce the heat. Then you simmer it for about 20 minutes. And as you do, and you stir it like every 5 to 10 minutes, and 5 to 7 minutes, you stir it, and what happens is that rice just sort of draws in that moisture, right? And it becomes this really amazing skillet. It's so flavorful, and there's not really a lot of additional, like we don't add a lot of additional herbs or spices. I put a little salt and pepper in there usually, but everything together, the peppers and the onions and the kielbasa itself and the tomatoes sort of brings all that flavor together, and it is so rich. It's so delicious. The flavors just work together perfectly. We just had it last night. We have some leftovers in the fridge right now. It's so
we're
good.
Gonna fight over.
We're already going to fight over. But so we'll. It's just one of the examples of recipes, and it doesn't take a whole lot, and it takes about 30 to 45 minutes to cook.
That's our
yeah
goal. Dinner in 30 minutes.
Yeah. Generally, you want to do a dinner, especially if you're cooking it during the week. You wanted to have something you can do in a half hour or so. If it takes much longer than that, you're going to be really, really late eating, and it really just gets, it's not a good situation. But so we will. I'm sure we'll have a picture. Excuse me. We'll have a picture of the dish, which I took some pictures over here somewhere. Jeannie in post will put it over here because that's where the space is, and then we'll also have a little link. There's a recipe online that we could link to. You don't have to stick to that recipe. You can use a number of recipes, but it's closest to the one that I use.
It's a skillet dinner.
It's just a skillet dinner.
If you know how to make a skillet dinner, it's a skillet dinner.
You can make it with these ingredients.
Your vegetables, your meat, rice, toast it, liquid, boom, you're done.
For the most part, cooking is really about putting together flavors that work together. And then after that, the details aren't that important. Whether it's a large onion or a small onion, or whether it's a 1 clove of garlic or 3 cloves of garlic, it's really a matter of taste, and it's not really going to make a difference. How much salt or pepper, unless you really overdo it, not going to make a huge difference. Just do it, taste it along the way. If it needs something,
oh my gosh, taste your food, people, while you're cooking.
Taste your food. If it needs something, figure out what it needs to sort of balance it out, and then just do it. So that's just one of the recipes that we do. We love coming up with new recipes. So we're going to continue to talk about those sort of things, both here and in the books, because my characters in the book love to cook. And there's a rule in my book: any recipe in the book that's prepared by Alan Harrison, I've actually made. If it's prepared by somebody else, maybe not. It may be something I just looked up. But if it's prepared by Alan, I made it.
Right. And I think this skillet recipe might be coming up.
Yeah.
Spoiler. No.
Yeah, it might be in a future book. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like the one pot Japanese chicken curry.
I love that dish.
That was in the Fail-Safe program.
Yeah.
Which is so good, but that is not a 30-minute meal. That is a more extensive meal, but it is so good. But it is also very rich. Jerry tends to
That's the other secret. That's the other secret, that sometimes the most elaborate dishes, or the really sort of experimental dishes, come as a result of you being out of town or being away. And that's when I feel free to actually just sort of test things out, because if I screw it up, it's just me. and I don't worry about uh, um, uh,
I don't even know where I was that.
I think you were at a seminar or something, an ASL seminar or something. And so I cooked 2 dishes that weekend. It was the Japanese curry chicken and rice dish and the pork chop and snap peas, sugar snap peas dish that I cooked, both of which are winners. We cook them
Yes.
multiple times a year. It's really, really good.
Pork chop, snap peas with feta cheese, and mint. You would never think that these things would go together, and it is just so good. We'll put a link for that one below too,
Yeah.
because everyone should have that meal. So we will
Okay.
definitely put a link for Jerry's base recipe that he started with, and then we tend to go off book
Yep.
as far as
And we
recipes
encourage you
because
to
that's,
experiment as well.
yeah, and that's what's really fun about cooking. Um, and our cooking has changed. When we were poor, we
What?
thought we were so smart by mixing, what was it? It wasn't even Kraft macaroni and cheese. It was
Was
store
it
brand noodles and cheese. And we
with
would cook the
powdered milk?
noodles. Yeah, and we had to use powdered milk because we couldn't afford gallons of milk. So we had to make
Right.
milk with city water that
Ugh,
was not very good.
no.
Um, not in we lived in an old apartment, cute little apartment, and how we would cook up the sausage, like, I don't know, cheap sausage, ground sausage, and we would make the noodles and we would drain it and we would add the cheese and then we would dump the sausage into the noodles and stir that up, and then we would break eggs into thing while it was still hot and kind of scramble them in our thing. And we thought, oh my God, this is so good. And it was good. It is really good, but really not good for you. So
No,
we
it's
do
really
try to
bad for
balance
us.
that now that we're both
Yeah. More health
almost approaching
conscious.
our 60s soon.
Yeah. Some of us closer than others.
Yes, way more closer than others because somebody is way older than the other.
Yeah.
2 years.
13 months. But anyway.
It counts as 2 years. It doesn't really because the count is 66, 67. Anyway, so yeah, we will definitely be keeping the What's for Dinner as part of our podcast because I think
Yep.
that's important to see what other people do. And sometimes What's for Dinner is a snack pack from Taco Bell.
All right. Well,
You didn't have a comment about that?
no.
Oh my God, he was not even paying attention.
Well, what I was thinking about is that every story has an end, but our process has just begun.
Thank you for joining us behind the scenes of the co-authored life.
I'm J.E. Sutton Jr.
And I'm Jeannie. To see what we're currently working on, visit jestunjr.com. We'll see you in the next chapter.
Thank you.
Can't believe you didn't say anything about the taco pack. Oh my goodness. Bye.
Bye.